Hello, I'm David Hughes. Welcome to Your Perfect Body, the podcast of the Esoteric Teaching Community. Today's selection is an essay entitled The Gate of Liberation. This talk begins a series on the second chapter of Bhagavad-gita. The first chapter of Bhagavad-gita is the setup. According to Arjuna's request, Kṛṣṇa placed the chariot in between the two armies. Senayor, ubhayor, madhye, ratham, sthapaya me acyuta. Bhagavad-gita 1:21. Arjuna looked over all the relatives and friends that he was going to fight with, and he began to have second thoughts about the battle due to his feelings of compassion. He presented his case to Kṛṣṇa, but was unable to resolve his difficulty by himself. In the second chapter, he surrenders to Kṛṣṇa and asks him to solve his problem definitively. Kṛṣṇa then delivers a wonderful summary of Vedic spiritual wisdom. The second chapter begins, Sanjaya uvacha, Tang tata kripayavishtam ashru purnakulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion and very sorrowful, his eyes brimming with tears, Madhusudana, Kṛṣṇa, spoke the following words. Bhagavad-gita 2:1. Here, Sanjaya is narrating the description of the battle of Kurukshetra to the blind king, Dhritarashtra. Arjuna is playing the part of the conditioned soul, and Kṛṣṇa is giving him the same advice that he would give to any conditioned soul who is bewildered by the difficulties of material existence and suffering. In other words, by advising Arjuna, Kṛṣṇa is advising all of us. There are two kinds of souls, the supreme individual soul, Paramatma, and the atomic individual souls, or Jivatma. And there are two kinds of Jivatmas, the materially conditioned souls and the liberated souls. Actually, when we speak of materially conditioned or liberated, we are referring to the quality of consciousness of the soul. The soul, being spiritual by constitution, is never really affected by the modes of material nature. But because he fills his consciousness with material impressions, the soul dreams that he is under the control of material nature. And therefore, although he is transcendental, he becomes subjected to the suffering of material existence. The liberated souls, whether in the material world or the spiritual world, are always in spiritual consciousness. There are 5 kinds of liberation, but in the West, the most commonly known type of liberation is sayujya. Sayujya liberation means to become one with the Supreme. The Mayavada philosophers or monists aspire after sayujya mukti. But the devotees, Vaishnavas, do not accept sayujya mukti. In fact, they hate sayujya mukti because it is committing spiritual suicide by merging into the impersonal Brahman and losing one's individuality. This means that one ceases to exist as an individual person, nor can one render devotional service to the Lord. So the devotees never accept sayujya mukti, which is usually bestowed upon the demons who are killed by the Lord. For the devotees, there are 4 higher kinds of mukti. Sarupya mukti means attaining a 4-handed form similar to that of the Lord. Salokya mukti means that one is promoted to the planet where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. Sarshti mukti means attaining spiritual opulence like that of the Supreme Lord. And Samipya mukti means remaining an eternal associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And those who are still further advanced do not want any kind of mukti. not even these 4 higher kinds of mukti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Nadhanam najanam nasundaring kavitang vajagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhakti rahaituki tvai. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is your causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Shikshashtaka 4. This is a pure devotional prayer. The pure devotee does not approach the Supreme for any material or even spiritual gain. Pure devotion means love and service without any aspiration for personal gain. Anyabhilasita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena Kṛṣṇa anushilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11. Anyabhilasita shunyam means without any kind of desire than to please the Lord. This is Uttama Bhakti, first-class bhakti or pure spiritual love. In the esoteric teaching it is said, Savai pungshang paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which everyone can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Paraha means transcendental, beyond this material conception. Kṛṣṇa, or the absolute truth, Narayan, is para. Even the great Mayavadi impersonalist Shankaracharya admits in his Gita Bhasya that Narayana para avyakta. Narayan is beyond this material world. Narayan, Kṛṣṇa, Vishnu, the absolute personality of Godhead, is not of this material world. When the Vedas use the word nirakar to describe the absolute truth, that does not mean that he is formless, but that his form is not a thing of this material world. He has a transcendental form, described as Satchit Ananda Vigraha. His form is eternal, full of unlimited consciousness and bliss. Brahma Samhita 5.1. The spiritual form of the Lord is Satchit Ananda, but this material form that we live in is Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. Therefore, when in the Vedic literature or in authorized statements we find the absolute truth described as Nirakar, that means his form does not belong to this material world, this Asat, Achit, and Nirananda material world. His form is Sat-Chit Ananda. So he has his divine spiritual form. Janma karma chame divyam evang yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorajuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, upon leaving this body, does not take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Bhagavad-gita 4.9. Divyam means he is transcendental. This world is a creation of the material nature, but beyond this material nature there is another nature, that is the spiritual nature or the spiritual world. That is also explained in Bhagavad-gita. Parastasmat tu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha ya sa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Bhagavad-gita 8:20. So, Kṛṣṇa advises us in Bhagavad-gita to attain to our original spiritual nature, accept